You've been working hard and somehow that promotion still isn't happening. Meanwhile, someone who does less than you, leaves on time, says no half of the time, just got promoted. What is happening? The hardest working person on the team is usually the least likely to get promoted. If you're happy exactly where you are, this video isn't for you. But if you're aiming for the next level, more responsibility, more influence, more respect, stay with me. Because the reason this happens feels deeply unfair at first. I used to believe the same thing, that if you work hard enough, it would pay off. Then something happened that completely broke that belief. There's a concept called the autonomy premium. The most valued people in any company share one habit that feels completely backwards. And it has nothing to do with working harder. I'll show you exactly what it is. But first, we need to understand the trap that almost everyone falls into, because it feels like exactly the right thing to do. It's not a character flaw, it's evolution. Our brains are wired to read the workplace like a tribe. Being seen as unhelpful doesn't just feel bad. To your nervous system, it feels like a threat to your survival. Back when that meant being kicked out of the group, exile meant death. So your brain learned a workaround. It found ways to say yes that feel totally rational. 6 of them, actually. The perfectionist. They can't admit they're at capacity, because in their mind, needing to say no means they're not good enough. The imposter. They think they're lucky to be here, so every no is a risk that they can't afford. The ladder climber. They are terrified that the one project they turned down was their big break. The office hero. They feel guilty unless they are saving the team, even at their own expense. The expert. They say yes to stay indispensable, because if they say no, someone else might learn their secret. The people pleaser. They'd rather work all weekend than have 5 minutes of an awkward vibe. Drop a comment, which one are you? Each of these masks feels like a strength, which is why they're so hard to see. And one of them is nearly impossible to break out of without a system. I'll tell you which one, right after I show you what finally forces people to change. I used to believe this too. I thought, if I just put in the hours and delivered the results, the credit would follow. I was at a job where I'd negotiated a promotion. It was formal, tied to hitting specific goals. I hit them, alone. The promotion never came. I felt betrayed, so I left. And here's what happened after I walked out of the door. They had to hire 5 people to cover what I had been doing. 5. They split my responsibilities across an entire team. I want you to sit with that for a second. At the time, I thought that proved how valuable I was. It didn't. It proved something else entirely. I had fallen into the indispensable trap. When you become the person who absorbs everything, every extra task, every gap, your manager doesn't see a promotion candidate. They see a load-bearing wall, and you can't be moved without the whole house shifting. Promoting you doesn't reward the system, it breaks it. And there's the second, quieter problem. When you're doing the work of 5 people, your quality drops. The deep work, that strategic thinking that actually gets you noticed, gets buried. The harder you work, the more invisible the right kind of work becomes. The hardest person to escape this trap? The people pleaser. Because their whole identity is built on never being the problem. Saying no doesn't just feel risky. It feels like a betrayal of who they are. If that's you, the system doesn't ask you to become someone else. It just gives you better words. And those words don't include the word no. High-value people don't say no more often. They say it smarter. Here's the 4-step priority pivot. Step 1. The truth check. Before you can defend your time, you have to measure it. Audit your week like a consultant hired to review someone else's calendar. What's recurring? What's actually tied to the goals that matter? Most people are shocked by what they find. Step 2. The listening buffer. When a request comes in, even one you know that you can't take, don't cut it off. Listen fully. Ask, why is this needed? When do you need this by? When people feel heard, their walls drop. You're not agreeing, you're gathering intelligence. Step 3. The redirect. This is the moment that feels risky. It isn't. Never say, I don't have time. That's a feeling, and people argue with feelings. Instead, say this. Right now I'm focused on A and B, or top priorities. If I take this on, which one of those should we pause to keep the quality where it needs to be? You haven't said no. You've asked the organization to choose. You've handed the steering wheel back to your manager. And position yourself as someone who thinks about the business, not just tasks. Step 4. The email safety net. Sometimes they'll say, do all of it, and that's fine. Now you send one email. As we discussed, I'm starting the new project. To make this work, X and Y will need to move to the end of the backlog until Tuesday. I'll flag you if something shifts. The weight just moved from your shoulders to the manager's decision. You're protected, and you look like an executive. This is the autonomy premium. High-value employees aren't the ones who do the most work. They are the ones who show they understand which work matters. When you use this system, you stop being a worker bee and start being a partner who thinks about the business. Because the problem was never that you weren't working hard enough. The problem is that you were spending your best energy proving you could handle everything. When the only thing that gets you promoted is showing you can choose what matters. So here's your challenge. What's one request this week that deserves a redirect instead of a yes? Write it in the comments. Everything we talked about here works when the request comes from your manager. But what about when it comes from a senior colleague or a client? Someone you can't easily push back on. That's where most people lose control of their time. Because you're not just managing tasks anymore, you're managing relationships. In the next video, I'll show you how to handle those stakeholders without damaging the relationship. Thanks a lot and have a great day.